It seems like there's a massive issue in the world right now, and it's just kind of being swept under the rug. The main idea of these issues have been around since as long as we have, but in the last 100 years, they've seemed more prevalent than ever. Let's talk about
approaching global water crisis.
Water crisis mounting in Corpus Christi, Texas.
State is in the grips of what may be its worst drought.
Wars may not be fought over oil, they may be fought over water.
So when people think water scarcity, they think take shorter showers, turn off the tap. But I mean, that's not really what we're talking about here, is it?
When you actually look at the data, household water use is basically a rounding error. Agriculture alone accounts for roughly 70% of all global freshwater withdrawals, and the way we grow food hasn't fundamentally changed in thousands of years. We're still flooding fields the same way ancient civilizations did. Most of that water never even reaches the plant, it evaporates, it runs off, it's gone.
And it's not just agriculture either. AI and data centers are becoming a large part of this problem as well. Billions of gallons a year just to cool servers, and that number is growing fast as AI demand explodes.
Right, and what makes it alarming is that both of these are accelerating at the same time as the water supply is shrinking. The Colorado River supplies 40 million people in the American West, and it's being overallocated every single year. Aquifers that took millions of years to fill are now being drawn down in decades.
So, we reached out to Alex to get his take on where this solution actually starts.
The technology to grow food more efficiently already exists. The gap isn't invention, it's adoption. Hydroponic systems, closed-loop water recycling, precision irrigation, right? These aren't new ideas. They're just not widely deployed, especially at the small and medium scale of the individual farmers where most of the world's food actually comes from.
So it's interesting because we have the data there, and we can see that this is definitely a possible solution to the issues we have with water scarcity and the overusage of water in agriculture. But as you said, we aren't developing this at a large scale. So I'm just wondering, what are the barriers that are holding us back from adopting this as a major form of agriculture?
So it's accessibility, cost, complexity. If you can bring these down and you can make it something a regular person can build and run without a massive budget, that's where the real change can start. Local, decentralized, one system at a time.
So that idea of something not only affordable, but something buildable and accessible to people who aren't necessarily builders is what led us to spend the last year building this. A fully solar-powered, 3D printed hydroponic tower, designed from scratch. Every structural piece printed by our team runs entirely off a 12-volt battery charged by solar. No soil, no grid power, and it uses a fraction of the water that traditional soil growing requires.
In traditional soil, plants spend a massive amount of energy just finding what they need. Roots spread out searching for water and nutrients. However, in this system, we bring it all right to the roots, so that energy can be used for growth instead. Water pumps from the reservoir at the base, travels up to the top, flows down in a thin film past every plant's roots, and cycles back to the bottom. Roots stay moist and oxygenated without ever sitting in standing water. This is called NFT, Nutrient Film Technique.
And water savings compared to traditional soil?
Up to 90% less. It's a closed loop, so almost nothing is lost to evaporation or runoff.
We didn't start with 3D printing. Actually, our first prototype was made out of PVC pipe. And, it proved to be effective, but it was really just a concept. And, we really wanted to have something more designable, something more, customizable. Switching to 3D printing meant learning SolidWorks from scratch. We weren't just designing a concept anymore. We were designing something that had to print, not only accurately, but function under constant water pressure and weight. And here's one of the coolest pieces in our design. This is our lid. So this lid was designed specifically to be bolted on any bucket. So you can just use any nuts and screws you see here, as long as your print is big enough. And then you can just thread them through, and then you can thread the bolt on. And this just secures that bottom piece directly to the bucket.
The structural design went through multiple full iterations too. The first version had a solid base plate that completely blocked root growth. We designed around this spoke architecture, open in the center so roots can move freely through the entire height of the tower, with triangular support ribs at the highest stress points identified through SolidWorks simulation.
disassembles in seconds. And because the whole thing is modular, you can make it taller or shorter just by adding or removing sections.
Now I want to walk you through this off-grid solar setup. Starting with the panel, this is a 55 watt solar panel, which in full Texas sun is pushing around 3 to 4 amps into the system. That power runs into this charge controller. What the charge controller does is it regulates the voltage so it doesn't overcharge the battery and fry it. The battery is a 12.8 volt Li-Fi PO4 or lithium iron phosphate, which is one of the most stable and long-lasting battery chemistries you can get. And then finally, power from the battery runs to this relay timer, which I've programmed to switch this pump on for 3 minutes and off for 12 minutes on a continuous loop. This clip I've shortened the time frame just to give you an idea of how it works. From here, it was really building everything for the components to go in and start growing the plants. The version that you're looking at is a proof of concept, and the next layer of this project would be to make it even more sustainable. One might ask, what is the next step? And so I introduced rainwater collection, making your own nutrient-dense solution, and anything you can put your mind to, as the only limits you have is what you can think. This design is completely customizable and completely sustainable in any way that you want it to be. We decided to keep this version simple intentionally because we just wanted to prove that the core concepts work before adding the complexity that each individual person could add to their own design or their own build in that case. But now that we have all the core concepts down and we've proven that this design can work, we're ready to bring this on to the next level, the next step. This tower isn't going to solve the global water crisis on its own, and we know that. But it's proof that the tools to grow food more sustainably and efficiently are available right now to regular people with a regular budget in a regular backyard in Houston, Texas. We spent the last year rebuilding, printing, designing, and testing, and we found that the barrier to do something like this isn't technology. The only barrier is deciding where to start.